Most of the salts are like dry items, but in that some salts contains water molecule in their chemical formulae. Let's see what is meant by water of crystallization, hydrated and anhydrated salts. First, we shall see water of crystallization. Some salts contain a few water molecules as part of their crystal structure. Water molecules which form part of the structure of a crystal, of a salt, are called water of crystallization. Water of crystallization salts are called hydrated salts. Every hydrated salt has a fixed number of molecules of water, of crystallization in its one formula unit. Let's see few examples. Example 1. Copper sulfate. It contains 5 molecules of water of crystallization in one formula unit. Hence, we write a CuSO4, 5H2O. So, it is called copper sulfate pentahydrate, means 5 molecules of water. Let's see the next example. Sodium carbonate crystals, washing soda crystals. It contains 10 molecules of water of crystallization per formula unit. Hence, we write as Na2CO3, 10H2O. So, it is called sodium carbonate decahydrate, means 10 molecules of water. The third example is calcium sulphate crystals, that is, gypsum crystals. It contains 2 molecules of water of crystallization in one formula unit. Hence, we write a CaSO4, 2H2O. So, it is called calcium sulphate dihydrate, means 2 molecules of water. The fourth example is iron sulphate crystals. It contains 7 molecules of water of crystallization per formula unit. Hence, we write as FeSO4, 7H2O. So, it is called iron sulphate heptahydrate, means 7 molecules of water. Please note that water of crystallization is part of crystal structure of a salt. Salt containing water of crystallization appears to be perfectly dry. Now, we shall see what happens when we heat hydrated salts. If hydrated salts are heated strongly, then they lose their water of crystallization. On losing water of crystallization, these hydrated salts lose their shape, color and become colorless powdery substances. The salts which have lost their water of crystallization are called anhydrous salts. Add water to these anhydrous salts, once again these salts become hydrated, and regains its color. Here note that, an anhydrous salt does not contain water of crystallization. Let's see few examples. The first example is copper sulfate, CuSO4, 5H2O, hydrated and anhydrated process. Copper sulfate crystals are in blue color. If heated strongly, copper sulfate crystals lose their water of crystallization, and formed anhydrous copper sulfate, it is in white color. The chemical equation is CuSO4, 5H2O on heated, it gives CuSO4 plus 5H2O. Hydrated copper sulfate which is in blue color on heating, gives anhydrated copper sulfate which is in white plus water. Please note that on strong heating blue copper sulfate turn to white. When water is added to anhydrous copper sulfate, it gets hydrated, and turns blue and forms hydrated copper sulfate. The chemical equation is anhydrated copper sulfate which is in white color plus water on heating, gives hydrated copper sulfate which is in blue color. If hydrated salts are heated strongly, then they lose their water of crystallization. Please note that anhydrous copper sulfate turns blue on adding water.